Go ahead.
Your Honor, we're going to withdraw this exhibit at this time and we're going to play it tomorrow morning.
To the jury, all right. On the exhibit that we started to show you just before the break, there was a label, a heading on it, and the label was not part of the seized exhibit. It was added by the district attorney as a title, and I'm going to instruct you to disregard that label and do not consider it in any way in your deliberations in the case. And you will see the material, but it will come in a different form than it was going to come in today. All right, you may proceed.
Thank you. Miss Arvizo, by the time that you got back to El Monte and then back to your residence in Los Angeles, how long had the children been out of school?
About less than 2 months. Less than.
Did they have any instruction during that period of time at all?
None. 0.
Did you have, during that period of time, a conversation with either Michael Jackson or Vinny or Frank about them getting tutoring?
Yeah. We had to go to Brazil if we wanted to get tutored.
Who was that you had a conversation with?
With Frank and Vinny.
At different times or together?
Different times, together.
What did Frank tell you specifically about tutoring?
That if I wanted a tutor for my children, that we had to leave the country and go to Brazil. That they could provide a tutor there. Everything was always Brazil.
All right. Was there any mention by either Frank or Vinny that a tutor had already been arranged in Brazil?
I can't remember that.
All right. Did either one of them tell you where specifically in Brazil you were going to be going?
Yes.
Where?
In Brazil, it had to be in a place where there was no American hotels, so no one could notice me and my children.
Did they tell you whether any of them, meaning Frank or Vinny, would be going with you to Brazil?
Yes. Frank and Vinny and Brad Miller and Mark Schaffel had already prepared an apartment full of surveillance and everything there. This is what Frank and Vinny told me.
Did they tell you what city in Brazil?
No. They did tell me that it was away from any hotel.
Did they tell you what size city or community or town you would be going to?
No.
Did they tell you how long you would be there?
Until they did damage control for Mr. Jackson. And I followed everything that they said. There may be a possibility that I could come back, depending on what I did.
Did they actually tell you in terms of days or weeks or months?
At this point, no. It was until they decided.
Did they tell you whether or not Mr. Jackson would be joining you there in Brazil?
No. Mr. Jackson would not be joining us there.
Did either of them say that specifically?
Yes.
Who?
Frank and Vinny. And remember, this is an evolution, different times.
Objection. Move to strike her comments.
I'll strike the last sentence.
Do you recall when the conversation was specifically with Frank about whether or not Michael Jackson would be joining you there?
That was towards the end. There was going to be just me and my kids, and, in the apartment that Brad Miller, Mark Schaffel had prepared full of high-tech monitoring surveilling system, surveilling me and the kids, and...
Did your 2 sons and Davellin enroll back in school again?
Yes, I enrolled them back in school.
Which school did the boys enroll in?
The boys I re-enrolled them back into John Burroughs.
Did you continue living at the St. Andrews apartment?
I now began living in the St. Andrews apartment.
Full-time?
Full-time in a 1-bedroom apartment, now with Jay.
Where did Davellin re-enroll in?
I enrolled her in a high school near my mom's out in El Monte.
This is a different high school.
Different high school.
Hold on. Wait till the question is asked. This is a different high school than the one prior to going to Miami?
That's correct. It's a different high school now.
And which high school was it in El Monte?
Now it's Mountain View High School.
And did she live with your parents?
Now my daughter began living with my parents.
Where does she live now?
My daughter lives with us now.
Were you able to get your possessions back?
Until the police got involved.
Did you know, by possessions, I mean your possessions from the Soto Street address?
That's correct.
What did you have at the Soto Street address at the time that it was moved from that location?
All my stuff. All my stuff from my apartment.
What do you mean by stuff?
My furniture, what was still there, because some of these things got rid of.
All right.
Our clothing. Let me see. What else?
Did you have furniture?
No. The only thing that they left in there was my kitchen table with my kitchen chairs.
All right. But was there some understanding with either Frank or Vinny or somebody else that your possessions would either be stored or moved?
No. At this point it was a no. Remember I said I would think about it? And then I finally said no.
When you finally got your possessions back, was what was returned to you everything that existed in the apartment?
No.
What was missing?
What was missing was all of everything to do with Mr. Jackson. Everything.
How about furnishings, furniture?
My kitchen table, my chairs were returned back to me.
Okay.
My children's clothing, my clothing. My pictures that were hanging on my wall.
Were returned?
Were returned.
Okay.
But all the stuff that Mr. Jackson had given Gavin were gone.
Did you have kitchen appliances of sorts?
Yes, I did.
Pots and pans?
Yes, I did.
Silverware?
Yes, I did.
Plates?
Yes.
Cups?
Yes.
Was that all returned?
Yes.
Prior to going to Miami, had you moved any of your possessions to Jay's apartment?
No.
Did you seek help from anybody in an effort to get your property back?
Yes, I did.
Who?
From Mr. Dickerman.
Before contacting Mr. Dickerman, did you contact anybody from Neverland too?
No.
Wait till the whole question's asked. Before contacting Mr. Dickerman, did you contact anybody from Neverland in an effort to get your property returned?
No way.
Did you have any other conversations with anybody from Neverland after you left?
No.
Did you know where your possessions were?
No, I didn't.
Did Mr. Dickerman write a number of letters on your behalf?
Yes, he did.
Did you read those letters?
Yes, I did.
Had you seen your passports prior? Well, you answered that you had seen them with Frank, is that right?
No, Vinny.
I'm sorry, with Vinny.
Yes.
Were your passports among the items that were requested to be returned?
Yes.
And I assume they were not returned to you?
They weren't.
Were there other personal items that were requested returned?
Yes. The children's clothing. That's one of them.
Was there something else that you wanted Mr. Dickerman to do on your behalf?
Yes. For Michael's people to stop following us. That we did not want to go back. To get the message, please, leave us alone.
Was that communicated in the form of a letter as well?
Yes, it was.
And do you know to whom those letters were sent?
To Mr. Garrigus.
Mark Garrigus?
Yes.
Do you know if your children were still appearing on television in that production, Living with Michael Jackson?
Yes, they were.
How do you know that?
Because Mr. Dickerman had told me, Jamie had told me.
Others were telling you.
Others were telling us.
That it was still being featured?
Yes.
Did Mr. Dickerman on your behalf attempt to get your children off television?
Yes, he did.
At some point in time. I'd like to move back 1 second, if I could. I believe that you had testified that the social workers from the Department of Child and Family Services, that interview was conducted on the 20th in the morning hours. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you see any of them the next day?
Yes, I did. On the 21st I did.
Who did you see on the 21st?
I saw Karen Walker, the supervisor.
What was the purpose of that meeting?
She had called. Like I had mentioned before, all my phone calls was being monitored every day, 24 hours a day. Monitored, listened, surveilled, watched, followed. Everything. She requested that I sign a paper that said I understood the language in English. Bilingual form.
All right.
Over the phone. So I went ahead, I said, yes, please come.
And did you sign that document?
Yes. She came, she met me outside. And I tried to run around on her driver's side to try to talk to her secretly, and at that time I'm being followed right here, and Vinny's right here, so I was unable to communicate to her. So when I ran around this way, now Vinny comes up and talks to her, and I'm trying to talk where, behind him to her.
Was she in her car at the time?
She was in her car.
Do you know what kind of a car she was driving?
I can't remember.
Do you know cars at all?
Yeah, I do.
Was it a sedan, or some other kind of car?
No. It was kind of like a little. I don't know if it's called a little SUV. I don't know. Kind of like a Range Rover type of thing.
Did you communicate to her anything other than the fact you spoke both English and Spanish?
No, but when Vinny was talking to her, telling her that.
Objection. Non-responsive. Move to strike.
All strike after, no.
Did Vinny say something to Karen Walker in your presence?
Yes, he did.
Alright. Where was Vinny standing at the time?
Right there on the passenger side window, talking to her.
And where were you?
I was right here.
I don't know where, here is.
Right behind him off to the side.
You were on the passenger side window as well?
Yes.
And next to Vinny?
Yes, sir.
What did Vinny say to Karen Walker that you were able to hear?
Vinny told Karen Walker that the children were being put in school immediately. Because Karen Walker asked him, were the children going to be put in school? And he said yes, the next day.
This was on the 21st of February?
Yes, which was a Friday.
And the kids were not put in school thereafter?
They weren't put in school.
Did you seek a tutorial for your children or a tutoring program once you were back out of Neverland?
Yes, I did.
Where did you seek to do that?
After the children, we were out, and I re-enrolled the children in John Burroughs. I took them to a place called JEI Learning Center to bring them up to speed for all those weeks that they had missed school.
How did you select JEI?
I was looking, actually, for a learning center somewhere in the vicinity of John Burroughs so they would waste no time from attending school all day and then go there. And then that's where I found it.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. At some point in time, were you introduced to an attorney by the name of Larry Feldman?
Yes.
Who is it who introduced you to Larry Feldman?
Bill Dickerman.
Do you recall when it was you were introduced to Larry Feldman?
Yes, when Michael's people wouldn't stop following us.
Objection. Move to strike.
Stricken.
Tell us the date, if you recall, of your first meeting with Larry Feldman.
I can't remember.
Tell us approximately how many weeks after your children left Neverland it was that you actually met with Larry Feldman, if you recall.
No, I can't remember.
Whose idea was it to go to Larry Feldman?
Mr. Dickerman's.
After you saw Larry Feldman, did he refer you to somebody else to see?
Yes.
Who was that?
He referred us to see Dr. Katz.
Is that Dr. Stan Katz?
Yes.
What kind of a doctor did you understand Stan Katz to be?
Something with mental.
Psychologist or psychiatrist?
Yes.
Do you know which one he was, psychologist or psychiatrist?
No, I don't.
Did each of you meet with Dr. Katz?
Yes, we did.
And by each of you, who are we referring to?
Me and my 3 children. Davellin, Gavin and Star.
Did you know why you were meeting with him?
Yes, because Mr. Feldman.
Objection.
After, yes, all strike that.
What was your understanding of why you were meeting with Dr. Katz?
Because basically my house was a cuckoo house now.
At the time that you went to Mr. Feldman, did you have any understanding of accusations of sexual abuse?
No.
To Gavin?
No.
Had Gavin talked to you up to that point about anything that had happened at Neverland to him?
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled. You may answer, yes, or, no.
Yes. Gavin.
No, just, yes, or, no.
Oh, yes.
Gavin did have a conversation with you?
No, it wasn't a conversation. It was like an erupted volcano.
Hold on. At some point in time, did you actually sit down with Gavin and have a conversation with him about what took place at Neverland?
No. It was always broken, always.
At some point in time, did you sit down and have a conversation with Star about what happened at Neverland?
He, too, it was always broken. I would always hush them up. I'd say, just forget. Forgive. Forget. Forgive. Forget.
Did you have any belief at the time you went to Mr. Feldman that either of your boys had been molested?
No, not molested. But I was aware of things.
Move to strike the comments.
Strike the last sentence.
Did you go to Mr. Feldman because you believed your children were molested?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
My children, Gavin was like an erupted volcano. All the different things.
Objection. Non-responsive.
Sustained. Stricken.
That's my answer.
Let me withdraw the question and let me ask it again.
Okay.
Why did you go to Mr. Feldman?
Because as time progressed, I was finding out more and more. I thought it was just alcohol.
Were you concerned about the fact that your child had been given alcohol?
Yes.
That was something.
That was enough for me.
Was that something you told Mr. Feldman?
Yes.
Why were you concerned about your child having been given alcohol?
Because he only has one kidney.
Move to strike.
And it's malfunctioning.
Just a minute. You have to wait when there's an objection.
Okay.
All right. The objection is overruled. And the answer was, because he only has one kidney. Next question.
During the course of your interview with Dr. Katz, did you tell Dr. Katz that you believed that your child had been molested?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
I don't remember what I told Dr. Katz. But I don't remember, because as time went by it was progressing.
Objection. Non-responsive. Move to strike.
I don't remember. I'll leave that part in. Strike the rest of it.
At the time of your meeting with Dr. Katz, did you believe that your child had been molested?
Objection. Asked and answered. And leading. And foundation.
Sustained.
Did you ever come to a conclusion that your child had been molested?
Objection. Asked and answered. Foundation. And leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes. When I was told by the DA, police office.
Objection. Move to strike. Non-responsive.
I'll leave the yes and strike after that.
I just want you to tell us when, not the circumstance. But when did you come to the conclusion that your child had been molested?
Okay, when? I don't remember when.
Was it before or after your meeting with Dr. Katz?
Oh, it's way after.
Was it before or after your initial meeting with one of the detectives from the sheriff's office?
It was after the police. The police form a trust bond with Gavin.
Objection. Move to strike. Non-responsive.
The question is simply when.
Just a moment. Just a moment.
Yes.
All right. I'll leave the answer. It was after the police, and strike the rest of that sentence. Next question.
Approximately how long after your initial conversation with detectives was it?
I can't remember, but it was after the police got involved.
Okay.
But I was aware of things.
That's all. Just.
Objection. Move to strike.
Stricken.
When did you finally get your possessions back?
Until the police got involved. Yeah.
Where were your possessions moved to at that time?
They were moved into another storage area, because I no longer had a place now.
Objection. Move to strike. Non-responsive.
Okay.
Overruled. Next question.
Did you have an opportunity to go through your items after they were ultimately returned?
Yes. With the police there.
All right. And where was that you went through all of your items?
I immediately went to the clay pot that I told you where I had.
Just tell us where it was that you looked at these items. Where is the location where the items were where you looked at them?
Dino's storage.
Do you know where that is?
I can't remember.
Okay. Was it someplace in Los Angeles County, to your knowledge?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, at that location, did you go through all of your?
Oh, God, no. I think it's somewhere near, like, Calabasas area. Somewhere like that.
In the valley somewhere?
Yeah, in that area.
San Fernando Valley?
Yes.
Now, at that location did you go through all of your items to see what was there and what was not there?
Yes.
Were you able to find any of the letters that Mr. Jackson had sent to Gavin?
I immediately went to the clay pot. Lifted it up. Gone.
Was everything missing from the clay pot?
Everything was missing.
Were there any other items besides letters that were missing?
Yes. Pictures, and that rabbit.
By pictures, do you mean photographs?
Yes.
And these are photographs of what?
Of Michael with the children.
And then you said a rabbit.
Yes.
You're talking about a doll of some kind?
Yes. Yes.
And from where did this rabbit come from?
From Michael, from Mr. Jackson.
And what became of that?
Gone.
Do you recall the jacket that you referred to that was given to Gavin by Mr. Jackson?
Yes, I do.
What happened to that jacket?
I turned that over to Mr. Snedden.
And did you identify that jacket before the grand jury?
I don't remember if I did that. I don't remember.
Can you describe that jacket for us?
Yes, I can. It's black with, Mr. Jackson said it was crystals on the back.
Something that glittered?
Yes. Mr. Jackson said it was real crystals.
Was there anything else that was given to any of your children by Mr. Jackson during the time that they were with him during the months of February or March?
Objection. Foundation.
Sustained.
Did you ever see a watch?
Yes. Mr. Jackson told Gavin that it was a $75,000 watch.
And where did you see that watch?
On his wrist. On Gavin's wrist.
At.
Mr. Jackson took it off of his wrist and placed it onto Gavin's wrist.
Were you watching that happen?
I don't think I did. I don't think I did. I just know afterwards this is what I found out.
Objection. Move to strike. No foundation.
Sustained. Stricken.
Where did you first see that watch?
I first seen it I think when Gavin got off the airplane. And then the rest of the time when they were at Neverland.
Did he wear that watch while you were at Neverland?
Yes, he did.
Can you describe the watch for us?
Oh, it was gold, and it had stuff that looked like diamonds on the face. That's the best I can remember.
For how long did Gavin wear that watch?
Every day, I think, prior to going back to Neverland. I think so. I don't remember. I'm doing my best estimate.
When he took the watch off, what happened to the watch?
Oh, he didn't take it off while he had it on at Neverland at all.
At some point in time did he stop wearing the watch?
Yeah. When we got back, I took it off. You know, stop wearing this ridiculous watch.
Okay. What did you do with the watch?
I think I had Jay. I left it at Jay's apartment.
And ultimately where did the watch go?
I gave it to the police.
Mr. Snedden?
Yes, Mr. Snedden. The police.
The police. Do you remember who it was you gave it to?
Let me see. Okay, yes, I did. I gave it to the attorneys, because I didn't want it in my house. And then...
Which attorneys?
I gave it to Mr. Dickerman, and then we ended up giving it to Mr. Feldman, and then the police retrieved it from Mr. Feldman's office. Yeah.
While you were at Neverland, did anybody talk to you about finding you a place to live ultimately after Brazil?
No. It was at Brazil.
No, but did anybody ever talk to you about getting a house for you or apartment or a condo or something like that?
The condition was that we had to leave the country.
I'm sorry. The question was, did somebody talk to you about getting a house or an apartment at some time?
Only if we left the country.
Does that mean the answer is, yes, somebody did?
Yes.
Okay. Now, this conversation was with whom?
With Frank and Vinny.
At the same time?
Yeah.
Okay. Were both of them talking to you?
Yes. They were trying to get me to leave the country.
And this was still while you were at Neverland?
Yes.
What did they say specifically about getting you a house or an apartment, or what?
If I left the country, I can have that.
You could have what?
A house and an apartment to go back and forth. But, no, I didn't want to leave the country.
I don't understand. A house. I don't understand. What does that mean, to go back and forth?
That's what they said. Frank and Vinny came up with different things every time. But the key here, that is consistent, is that, you got to leave the country.
Conditioned upon going to Brazil?
Yes.
What did they say specifically about a house or an apartment? What did they say?
If I left the country I could have that.
You could have what?
A house and an apartment.
Did they say why you would need both a house and an apartment?
They said something like to go back and forth. This way there's still, I have that burned in my brain, appeasing the killers. This way, if the killers showed up at the apartment, I could go to the house, from the house to the apartment.
Did they tell you Michael Jackson would be purchasing that for you or renting that for you, or what the arrangement would be financially?
That Mr. Jackson would do it if I left the country.
Did you understand that you would actually own this?
No.
They didn't say one way or the other whether.
No, they just said as I told you.
You didn't ask whether this would be something in your name or somebody else's name?
No.
Or whether you'd have to pay rent on it?
I knew I didn't want to leave the country. I don't care what they promised me.
Did either Frank or Vinny make any other representations to you in terms of money, or college education, or anything else that they would be giving you if you went to Brazil?
No.
Did he make any representations of what they would be giving to you even if you didn't leave for Brazil?
No. Zero.
During the period of time from the time that you were contacted by Michael Jackson back in early February of 2003 to the time that you left Neverland and your children left Neverland on around the 11th of March, did you ever ask anybody from Neverland, whether it was Michael Jackson or Vinny or Frank, for money?
No. Zero.
Did you ever ask any of them for money prior to that time?
No.
On February 4th?
That's not my nature.
Did either or any of them at Neverland make an offer to give you money?
No.
Did you receive money from any of them?
Nope.
And by receiving money, I mean at any time since you first visited Neverland back in August of 2000 until you ultimately left and had no further communication with them.
No.
Did you ever have a conversation with anybody at Neverland, whether it was Michael Jackson or Vinny or Frank or anybody else, about the subject of whether money would be given to you?
No.
Did you ever ask anybody at Neverland, whether it was Michael Jackson or anybody else, to support you for the rest of your life?
No.
Could counsel and I approach the bench briefly about the exhibit?
All right. Discussion held off the record at sidebar. Okay. We're ready to go.
Miss Arvizo, are you intending on filing a lawsuit against Michael Jackson?
No.
Are you intending on filing a lawsuit against Michael Jackson on behalf of your children?
No.
Are you intending on doing it anytime during this proceeding or anytime thereafter?
No.
Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time. I do intend to play the video once the particulars are worked out on it. End.
All right. What we agreed to at the sidebar here was the district attorney needs to prepare the 3 or 4 tapes that he was going to show earlier that was compiled into one. He's going to show them separately based on an earlier ruling I made. And rather than have Mr. Mesereau start late in the afternoon with cross-examination and then be interrupted with that, we're going to recess early. To the jury, I knew you'd be unhappy about that. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:30. Remember the admonition.